Hope Channel, changing lives.
Once again, good evening and welcome to the program Wounds of the Heart. COVID is real. So on our studio, on our set, it's real. And I welcome you all to this wonderful program that we're going to heal the heart wounds of people's heart that has been caused by any emotional, any ongoing trauma, anything that understanding is something else. This evening I'll be joined by people, about 4 people who are going to share their experiences with us. And last week we had 3 people to share their COVID experiences with us. Today we have a gentleman who is going to also share his, and the sister is going to talk to us about how they were able to cope when the situation was real that the brother had contracted COVID. And I have Pastor Emmanuel Kusiyebwa also on, Abigail's father, who's going to talk to us about how they accepted the situation when the daughter came telling them that she has also contracted COVID. And on my set here, I have a handsome gentleman who is also going to, a nurse. He will introduce himself very soon. He's going to also help us to talk to us about what is happening in the ICU, that's intensive care unit, COVID intensive care unit, center at Kolebu. He's here with me. So once they share the experiences, he is going to add his voice to what is happening because he's there. He's there. He's still working there. He's there. And viewers, if you want to join the program as usual, we are live on Facebook and YouTube as well. Hope TV GH. And if you want to share your comment or your questions or anything you think it is important for us to also read, you can do it via our Facebook link, Hope TV GH, or WhatsApp, our WhatsApp platform 0559-680066. Or if you really want to call, the lines will be activated as ASAP when it's needed. And let me use this platform to acknowledge Slick Africa. All the time they're making me looking slick with this material I'm wearing. In case you want to buy material, COVID is real. Don't go into the marketplace looking for it for you to contract COVID. But yet you can still call them on their line 0557-355852. It's a WhatsApp line. Just choose any of the brand you want. Call them. They will be at your doorstep. They will do you fine. Let me put it that way. Slick, always making me looking slick. And I want to also thank this gentleman, Alpha Art, who always do the flyer for me. Alpha Art, God bless you. In case you want any flyer, please just let me know. And this gentleman will be there right on time. And in case also you want to promote your product on Hope TV, the contact lines are there. You can talk to us. And we are running a promo. Your product may be advertised for you in some way. Also, in case you want to invite Hope Wounds of the Heart crew to your church for a program, there's no 2 ways about it. Just contact us and we will just come and have the program done in your local church. As I said, we are still talking about COVID. We are in a COVID era, and I have people who are ready to share with us that COVID is real. Let me let the one on the studio introduce himself first, so that from here we can pick those who are joining us via Zoom. I know Kofi is ready. I know Petro is ready. I know Pastor is ready. You and I are ready for us to share this experience together. Good evening.
Good evening, Pastor.
Please, how is it going?
By God's grace, we are all coping. We are doing good.
We are doing good. That is wonderful. I can say that you, the health workers, especially those of us, those of you in intensive care unit, how is the feeling like?
It's not been easy. It's not been easy. The stress both the health workers and the patients are going through, it's not been easy.
All right.
I think today we will talk about
it. We will talk about it. Beautiful, sure. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Let me begin with Kofi. Kofi, are you there? Hello, Kofi.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Kofi. Good evening.
Good evening.
And this is the program Wounds of the Heart.
Sure.
Kofi, I learned that you contracted COVID.
Yes, you are right.
Yes. So how did it go? How did you know that you've had COVID?
Wow. So it all started with some normal body pains, stomach upsets. I was running temperature. I was feeling weak over a period of time. So I visited the hospital and they took my samples for a full blood count. After a while, the results came and they said I had H. pylori. I was running temperature. My blood level had dropped, and they needed to detain me to start some treatment for all that they had detected. So I was there for some days, and I realized after the third day, nothing seemed to be changing, but the condition was rather getting worse. So I pleaded with the medical team to refer me to a higher facility, because at a point in time I realized I couldn't breathe properly. But they didn't really take me by my word when I said I couldn't breathe properly. So they made arrangements. I spoke with other my friends who are doctors. And at the time, it was quite difficult getting a place, like a higher facility, because at the time, I understand there were lots of cases and almost all the health facilities were full with COVID cases. None of them had beds to accommodate new cases.
Okay.
So it took one friend of mine, UK. He's working with one of the he's working with one of those vaccine companies, those working on the vaccines for COVID, and he had links with some high authorities in Ghana, and he managed to secure me a bed at Ridge. Had it not been for that, I would still be where I was, and probably only God knows what would have happened. So that is how it all started.
All right,
and
so
I get a bed at Ridge Hospital.
All right, so Kofi, with the symptoms. Last week Wednesday, I had a chance to interview 3 people. One beautiful lady called Abigail said she started experiencing the symptoms, the smelling, the high temperature. Another person, Robert said he didn't experience all those symptoms that you experienced. He realized that he was weak, and when he went to the hospital, the doctor asked to check the COVID, and apparently they realized that he has COVID. Now Shoko also told us that she didn't experience all those the signs and symptoms, but rather she was even eating excessively. She doesn't eat meat, but when she contracted COVID, she was eating meat. She was eating like anyhow. and 3 people had different symptoms altogether. When we are done, I'll come back to Sami on studio to tell us more. 3 people were interviewed, and none of them had the same what do we call signs and symptoms. You are also saying that you started running diarrhea, because none of these 3 also told us that they had diarrhea, because their temperature was also okay. They didn't get high temperature. It was okay, but you had high temperature. Unlike what we hear. Kofi, how many days or weeks did you realize that no, this thing probably might be COVID? How many days? Because I realized that they said 5 to 7 days, or something, 5 to 7 days, then the signs and symptoms will start showing. Yeah, Kofi, how many days did you realize that these things are happening?
Well, it took me about 5 days. The symptoms lasted for like 5 days before I decided to go to the hospital.
Okay.
It lasted for 5 days before I decided to go to the hospital.
Okay. Kofi, were you placed on ventilation?
Yes, I was placed on ventilation.
Whoa.
Yes, I was on the ventilator for, let's say, roughly 11 days.
Hey. Is that the length or period?
There is no specific time that you will say that this is the time for us to take you off. Some even can go for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to that extent, and some even earlier than he even said. Right. So there's no specific time that we say, okay, we are just putting you on a vent for 10 days and that is the ideal time. No, there's no an ideal time for you to. When you see that your condition is being improved, then you try to bring you down.
Okay. Yeah. So Kofi, did you by any chance in your mind felt that you die?
let me tell you something.
Okay.
Early stages, when I was in hospital, when it's daytime, the breathing seemed to be very okay because I'm on the ventilator. Everything seems to be okay. But when it's at night, I ask myself, so would I see the morning again?
Oh, okay.
Because at night, you can't sleep continuously for, let's say, 2 hours. You'll be sleeping, and even though you are still on oxygen support, in your mind, you'll be thinking about lots of things. You'll be seeing some funny images, and you'll be asking yourself, is this normal? So would I live to see the next day? Like, what is going on? And your heart will be beating abnormally. You'll be thinking about, so it took the nurses to be encouraging and inspiring us. Anytime you are awake, they'll just come to your bed and ask you, is everything okay? And they'll be inspiring you from time to time, and you realize, like, you feel love, because at the ICU, you don't get to see your mother, you don't get to see any of your siblings. Exactly. It's just you and God, you understand, and medical team. So occasionally when they come around and you speak to you, they try to inspire you. That is when you realize, okay, you have some kind of support that is urging you on to fight on. So it's very traumatizing. Honestly, it's very traumatizing. Being at the ICU, very traumatizing.
Pastor.
Yeah.
All right, Pastor. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
All right. So, Pastor, last week your daughter told us about how her started. As a father, realizing that your daughter had contracted COVID, what was the scene like? The feeling, what was it like?
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Daddy.
Well, when my daughter reported the incident to us, she is in another city in Columbus, and we are in Cincinnati.
Okay.
So when she came down, actually she was preparing to come down to Ghana.
Yeah, she said that yesterday, last week.
When she came and reported to us, it wasn't strange to us, because last year I had it myself.
Hey.
Yeah, I had it. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, and this COVID is real. Don't take things for granted. It's easy to just catch it and then die. Having had it last year, what I went through, when my daughter came and told me, and my wife, it wasn't a new thing.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, all that we did after the report came that it was positive, we placed her in her room.
Oh.
We isolated her. She had her own bathroom. She didn't have to come out.
Oh.
Prisoner
in her own room.
Yeah, she didn't touch anything. If she wanted to use the bathroom, that place was for her alone. And so we supplied the food and all her needs. After coming out from her room, we made sure that we washed our hands very, very well and sanitized our hands as well. And also we use very hot water, in cleaning the bowls she used, so that we don't continue catching it.
Oh.
And almost every day we make sure that the fridge and all the taps, wherever we were touching, we made sure we sanitized those places so that we don't continue spreading it. Yeah.
All right. So, viewers, we are watching people whose family and contracted COVID, and Pastor himself also had it last. Probably after this, I'll ask him how did he go about it. Perpetua, when Kofi told you guys that when you heard that Kofi had gotten COVID, psychologically, how did you feel? Is Perpetua around? Sister Perpetua. Sister Perpetua.
I'm mute. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear
All right,
you.
so Sister Perpetua, please, if you heard me, when when you guys heard that Kofi had contracted COVID, how was the feeling?
We suspected it before they the report came out.
Okay.
So I went with him to the hospital. So when the report came, we've moved from the clinic, we went to the higher facility, that's Rich Hospital. So I looked for the doctor who was in charge and sent the report to him. So we were then moved to the ICU. I went with him there and I got all his medications before I came home. By then, I was also having it. I also tested positive. So, but my condition wasn't severe, it wasn't critical, so I was able to manage from home. And with the help of my mom, I was not allowed to touch anything in the house.
Awesome.
When I come from the hospital, they open the gate for me. I go straight to my room. I have everything in my room. I wash down, washed everything I brought from the hospital. So we knew at the initial stages, we were suspecting it could be COVID. Because I was also sick, I went to the hospital and
you tested
the report
positive.
came out positive. So we try not to infect those in the house. Yeah.
But were they how were they looking at you people? How were they getting closer to you people? Because Pastor said that whatever the daughter touches, whatever they try to sanitize, they try to clean the place. How did you feel in your mind that in your own home you have contracted COVID and your family members are doing that? Did any emotionally were you okay with that?
For me, my people were trying to show me love, but
That's
I was
wonderful.
not allowing them to come closer. Because for my mom, she was sad because she's my friend, she's my everything.
Exactly.
We chat, we do everything in the house. But when the report came out, I told them no one should come into my room. If I need something, I'll call them on phone. They will bring it to my door and I will pick it from there. So they were worried for me, but because I didn't want them to get infected, I was not also allowing them to come close to me. I have my own washroom in my room, and I have fridge and everything. So I wasn't sharing much things with them. If I want to go out, I'll call them to come and open the door handle. I wasn't touching the one outside.
You are touching the one within yourself, but when you're COVID.
And they'll open the main gate for me to go outside. When I'm coming in, the same thing.
All right. So was it the same way when Kofi also had his, or after you, Kofi had it, or what? Is it the same time?
We had it the same time, around the same time. We all tested.
But you were fortunate not to go to intensive care unit.
I did not. I was able to manage from home because I wasn't showing much symptoms. I was only having headache and body weakness. So I was the one visiting him at the hospital.
Okay. Sammy, you tell us why is it that this COVID thing under the same COVID virus, people showing different signs and symptoms. That probably we can't say that these symptoms goes for everyone. Before Pastor.
Yeah.
All right. So, Pastor, with yours, now your daughter had contracted COVID, of which it wasn't new because you had it, say last year. But how psychologically, how did you help your daughter to cope with the situation?
Well, it's all love, as our sister said. You know. All right. Because when you are isolated, in the first place, when somebody catches it, the feeling is, am I going to die? So without the support system, you know, it worsens the situation. So all that we did, you know, with my family, we are so knitted together. Doing things together. Every evening having devotions. Praying together. So even when she was isolated, we had devotions. She was using the phone. So we called her. And then we did devotions together. And when we were supplying food, we sent it to her. And after she finished, to be put in front of the door for us to pick it up. And then whenever if I'm the one going to pick them, whenever I came from the room, I tried to clean everything. She had her own bowls. We didn't mix her own together with the rest of us. You know, in the morning, my wife will be going to work, so I will be the one at home to help her.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pa, for that. Thank you, Pa, for that. Kofi.
Yes, sir.
So the night that you felt you would die, that particular night, what did you see?
So that night, when I realized things were not, in fact, when I was at the hospital, what really kept me going was inspiration from the nurses, and constantly I was praying. I was praying and reciting the Lord's Prayer in my head because I knew where I'd gotten to. It will only take the grace of God to save me. Because there was a time, and when I went to the ICU, I think my first night, I was in the ward with, we were 4 in the ward. So that night, when I settled in my bed, they had placed oxygen on me. I felt like passing urine. So I called the nurses severally. They were receiving lots of patients that night. So they wanted to get everybody in his bed before they would attend to other issues. I called them severally. They were not coming. So I decided to take my oxygen off and go to the washroom on my own. When I got out of my bed, I realized the distance from the bed to the floor was like me jumping from a 3-floor building to the floor. So bad. So I decided, well, they showed me where the washroom was. One patient showed me where the washroom was. And I decided to make way to the place. It was just about a 3-minute walking distance. But that night, it looked to me like I was walking 30 minutes to the place. When I take one step, it will take forever for my feet to land. And it looked so bad, but I decided I would still go to the washroom. So I managed to enter the washroom. I quite remember I entered, I passed urine. I finished, washed my hand, entered the bathhouse, wanting to wash down. I don't remember anything that happened afterwards again. So whilst I was going, I remember one doctor saw me going, but didn't say anything since he was on phone. It took that doctor and God to save me that night, else that would have been my end.
You're gone too soon.
I went blank. I passed out in the bathhouse. And I think after a while, the doctor realized I wasn't coming. So he came there and that was it. So they rushed me on a stretcher to my bed, trying to resuscitate me, trying to do everything possible to bring me back. So I realized they tried for about 15 minutes. I'm saying this because when I came back, they were explaining how things happened to me. So after like 15 minutes, when they had tried and given up, they decided to perform their last services and other things. So when I came back, I realized I was stripped naked and they were all around me. So I started crying when I came back. I heard some of them saying, thank God, and somebody was praying somewhere, and the whole place looked some way. So all I could remember was, the last time I went to the washroom, and now I'm in my bed, and everybody's around me. So when I was fully healed and I was about being discharged, one nurse told me what exactly happened and told me I should be thankful to God because what happened, they felt they had lost me. It took just God's mercies to bring me back. So I should be thankful to God and be forever grateful to God.
It took just God's mercy to bring Kofi back to life, and he needs to forever be grateful to God. If you want to join the conversation, you can still send your messages across on our WhatsApp platform or Facebook page. We'll have time to read them for you. Let me come back to the studio. Sammy is a nurse in Kolebu, right? Sammy, I'm right.
Yes.
And Sammy, you are with them. You will go tonight. You are going to be with them. Sammy, yes. How is the situation like in the ICU?
Thank you. From what our colleagues joining us are saying, they are true. They are not just near stories that they've heard something, or they are just not trying to create any stories to tell us. They are real stories. Initially, when you started hearing we got our first case in Ghana from the Norwegian and the Turkish people, we thought the thing would be far away from us. And as the numbers keep on increasing, the hundreds, the thousands, those numbers now became those that you knew, or those that you know. I remember a friend called me from Kumasi and told me that he had COVID. So then I started realizing the thing is getting more closer to us than we even do expect. And those that you are nursing at the ICUs or in their various centers, when you come there, they have family. They are also family members of people. And the things that they go through and the kind of stress that both the family members and the health workers are going through is something that we need to talk about. And if people are still thinking the COVID isn't real, it baffles me. Because whatever our friends are telling us are very true, and there are similar things that people go through in the ICU. Now, one thing I've realized in the ICU is that when people come there, basically they need oxygen. Yeah. Because their lungs can't support them with the oxygen that they require, their body requires. So we try to keep them on the oxygen. What I've realized is that though they require oxygen, when you place the oxygen on them, they feel like you are rather suffocating them.
Oh, okay.
So they prefer to take off the oxygen, the mask or the devices that you are delivering.
So what Kofi did was highly
yes, he rather thought you are suffocating him.
No, but so he wanted to
get the thing. That at that point in time, the only thing you need to survive was oxygen.
Okay.
So the oxygen is the number one priority for you at that time. Yes, urinating or just passing urine or eating, all those things are essential for your well-being. That at that point in time, the first thing, the most important thing that you needed at that time was oxygen. And that is what most of our patients normally go through. And when they take the oxygen off and the brain is not getting enough oxygen, then the irritability comes in. Then they try to struggle with you. They try to feel so, like they will struggle with you, and they will even get to the point of just trying to get up from the bed, and all stuff.
So have you ever had that encounter with a client who is on bed, who is challenging and so when it happens like that, you just overlook the person and go. What do you guys do?
There was one experience that we had at the ICU, and colleagues who are maybe watching me will testify that it took about 5 health workers to even stabilize one patient. Because at that time, he became so aggressive and he became extra strong at that time and was challenging the care that we were giving him. He took the oxygen off, and he even kicked one of the nurses that was around him. I was nearly kicked. Because the person is struggling to catch some breath.
Okay.
So he is fighting to get those the oxygen. And we're also trying to force to get him the oxygen. So in the moment of these struggles, the patient can even hurt the health worker, or the health worker too can even, in a way, hurt himself or herself.
God bless all health workers and in the ICU and every part of the world who are trying to make sure that COVID patients will come into the care unit to live freely, not to die there. So let me seize this platform opportunity to appreciate and ask God to continue to bless you wherever you guys are, so that at least you know that indeed we also care about you. God bless you for the work you're doing, because we know that at a point in time you guys become traumatized to the extent that you wouldn't even like going to work. Because you heard today, you hear people getting COVID in your face, people will come getting COVID, sometimes psychologically. So let me ask you, psychologically, did you ever feel that you have contracted COVID?
Very well.
Psychologically?
Yes, because there was a time that we needed, it was kind of an emergency. And in an ICU, because it's COVID and it's infectious disease, normally when you bring in the patient are being kept in isolation areas, and it's not any time that you can enter. Before you enter, you need to put on the protective equipment, the gown, the masks, and all that kind of dressing. But there was a time, there was an emergency that you needed to enter into the patient's room to help the patients to survive. So for you to wait, when you're putting on the gown and those, it takes a little bit of time. But when that situation happened, we had to dress shabbily in a way in order to go in earlier to help the patient survive. And at that point in time, because I was part of the team that entered, so at that point in time, when I came back, making the patient stabilize and everything, when we came back, I felt like, have I contracted the disease? Because I wasn't fully dressed before I entered. So a week or two later, because psychologically, because I was thinking about it, I started experiencing some kind of weakness, coughing a little, those kind. So it took a friend that I contacted, and we tried to have a COVID test done. Even during the time that the COVID test was being processed or for me to get a result, I was like, what is going to be the outcome of my test? Unfortunately, when it came, it was negative. It was negative. So sometimes you, as a health worker, you become traumatized. You wouldn't even know whether you have even contracted the disease. And one thing that health workers, we don't normally take care, frontline health workers, is that we dress very well, you go in, you try to protect ourselves from getting the disease. But the time that you don't take particular notice about is when you are trying to take off the PPE. At that point in time, it's a very critical time that all health workers or frontline health workers who are working with the COVID patient need to take good care of. When you're taking off the things, at that time, it's gone into the patient's room, and all the infection, let's say the virus might have just got stuck on your the PPE that you are wearing. So when you are taking it off, that is the time you have to be extra cautious when you are taking it off, because if you do not take it off very well and you get yourself exposed, that is where you might have contract the disease. So that is the one thing that I'm trying to tell my colleagues, that is health workers who are going.
Let me go to Kofi. Kofi.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So Kofi, did you ever see people dying?
My very first night, there were 4 of us in the ward, and we woke up just with 2 of us in the ward. 2 people died. And the circumstances under which they died was very traumatizing. They were just gasping for breath, and that was it, and they died. They had oxygen. So I was very disturbed, traumatized, and the nurses realized it, so they had to change my ward. So they took me to a different ward, and they took the other colleague who was with me to a different ward. The ward where they took me to, I think after 2 days in the ward, one old man who was doing so well, his grandchildren sent him some cards wishing him well, and he was so happy reading it. After reading, he requested for some tea. He took the tea and decided to sleep again. In his sleep, he was just gasping for breath, and he died. So it was very disturbing. So I was like, oh, is this how we are all going to die from this country? So one nurse said that. And she came to me and she told me, you know what, everybody and how the person would leave this world.
Exactly.
Your condition is different from those who are dying. So don't think probably you are just counting days to also die just as they are dying. The nurses are really doing a great job.
We thank God for them.
Are really great job.
We thank God for them. All right, so this one from Facebook, he said, Edwin Fiamin Hesco, good day, Pastor, and your guests, watching live from Adringano, our last week program. Thank you so much. Edwin says that COVID is real. Let's protect ourselves, especially our young ones. This too shall pass. Indeed, we hope and pray that it passes quickly. And Bar Inos, he said, great show, regards, Sami, big timer. All right, all right. I know Sami has laughed, so I know that he knows the person who I've just sent that. Psychologically, Sami, you've seen people dying.
Yes.
Kofi attests to the fact that a young man in his at his age seeing people dying out of something that led him to the hospital. Is it because of your work? So when you see people dying, it doesn't have any effect in your life? Out of COVID, let me be specific.
Okay, let me say this. Most people think health workers, doctors, nurses, they don't have emotions, they don't have passion towards the dead. The issue is we are the health workers or the nurses or the doctors have been trained to be strong and even extra stronger so that we can take care of those going through that kind of emotional trauma. So if I'm to take care of you, to help you go through that kind of process, and I become so down, how can I help you?
Okay.
So in a way, when you are trying to be so strong so that you can help those going through this kind of grief or those kind of loss, then people might think that, oh, these people, they don't have emotions, they don't, when your relative died, that's the time that they even have, no. You have, sometimes you feel it, you go behind and cry.
Okay.
You don't see it as you go down and cry, because you knew that this person could have survived, that nothing was, like the things that you tried to do for the patient couldn't help, and the person left us. So sometimes you feel it, and that you do not show it for the relatives or the patients, relatives also know that you're also going through the same process. You are at the other end trying to help them to overcome what they are going through. Now to the COVID patients who do not survive or do not make it. There was, as Kofi said, there was a particular patient that I nursed, and the patient had 3 other patients dying around him. The issue is, when he came, he was feeling very well. Like he was at least stable, let me say it that way. And though he required oxygen, he was feeling a bit better. That when those incidents started happening, when people were dying around him, he started having this traumatic. He once told one of my colleagues that when he sleeps, the events or the death of the patients around him comes to mind, and that disturbs his sleep. Like he will relive the process through which the person died. And he sometimes said, even the patient that came was even looked stronger than me, but the person has died. So am I going to survive? So those kind of traumatic experiences that the COVID patient also experiences are the things that we need to also deal with. So in our place, I've had opportunities to work in different facilities in this COVID era. And one thing I'm very happy about is that the psychologists are being involved in the treatment of the patient. So that after being treated with the medical everything, they do not go home with mental conditions or mental illnesses as well. So that is what I can.
All right. Let me go for this quick break. When I return, I'll ask Pastor Perpetua and Kofi something that is still battling in my mind, and after that I'll come back to Sami to also hear from him as well. You can still keep your comments and your questions and anything coming, and we will have time to read them for you. The show is Wounds of the Heart. We are talking about COVID. It is real. Let's still keep ourselves intact. Let's go for this break. When I return, the program continues.
My dear family, my friend, my big brothers and my sisters. Today is another day on Family Life.
School is an extension of the home. Then the teacher's role actually goes beyond just teaching.
Some people say that insurance is like a parachute. Okay? Insurance, you know when you need a parachute? Yes. When you drop from an airplane or from a cliff, and then just when you land, your parachute has to come alive and then carry you. So insurance is like that. If you don't have it when you need it, you will never need it again, because you are going to die anyway.
So when you let stress come over you, and people are saying this, and because for our society, if you don't have a child, but please, you have your own timetable, and God have a special timetable for you.
Self-care is so important right now. If you are not alive tomorrow, you can't get the job that will be available tomorrow. So when you are going through all these job crises, whether you've lost your job, about to lose your job, or believe you are not even going to lose your job, think about your health first.
Family Life, every Thursdays at 8 p.m.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you so much for staying with us. The program is Wounds of the Heart, and we are talking about COVID, the reality of COVID. People are sharing their experiences with us. I have a nurse in here from the ICU who also sharing the experiences that they see all the time with us. Pastor, let me come to you. Pastor, you said that last year you also had COVID, and we thank God for life. But there's this post COVID reactions or some. Pastor, did you get all that post COVID reactions?
Well, with me, when it started last year, because the COVID was just coming, I didn't know at first that I had that disease. But I did isolate myself. I stayed away from the church for about 2 weeks, so that I didn't transmit the virus to anybody. At first, I didn't know. I worked out for about 1 hour, and running and doing some exercise for about 1 hour. So when I came back home in the evening, I was feeling very weak. I was thinking at first that it was probably tiredness. But the next morning, breathing and weakness continued. And then coughing within about 3-4 days. Even walking became so hard. Became so hard, yeah. So after isolation and treatment, when everything was gone, still the weakness was there. The coughing, it took another, say, a month before the coughing went out. At first, the walking, when the COVID went away, and I started walking, and I couldn't walk like before the COVID. It was a bit hard. Yeah. But I had to exercise to get my lungs working all the more. So I forced myself, exercising, walking in the sun and all that. And after about 2 weeks, I saw that there was much improvement. And so within a month, the coughing and everything, I was thinking that maybe I was going to get some permanent damage somewhere, but nothing happened.
We thank God.
My lungs, everything, and now I'm free.
Yeah, we thank God. Pastor, let me go. Kofi, have you experienced the post-COVID recovery complications?
Okay, so with mine, I realized when I was recovering, I easily get tired. When I engage in the least of activity, I get tired. Assuming I even jump into bed, I get tired. Jump out of bed, I get tired. Talk less, walking like just a minute, I would easily get tired. And my sleep pattern was distorted for a while. Until recently, I think even sometime last week, I still experienced the abnormal sleep pattern. You can't sleep for long hours. You sleep intermittently, maximum 2 hours. You wake up, you will have to sleep again, and it becomes very funny. So that has been the only challenge I've realized recovering. Aside that, no major post-COVID symptoms.
All right. So thanks a lot for this kind of conversation. All the media houses should learn from this. Thanks to Kofi, the sister and pastor. Doctor, you are promoted to Sami, now you're a doctor. No? So, Sapon from Oduma. Sapon, thank you so much for sharing this with us. We still need to create this awareness that COVID is real, and we got to be able to stay safe, because no one, God, you might not say God wouldn't watch you die out of COVID, but the precaution is in your hand for you to also go through that. And when you overcome it, you are safe. Let me get to Perpetua, and after that, I get to Pastor and Kofi, and Sami will end the program with us. Perpetua, so right now, you also felt that you had COVID. You had COVID, it's gone. Kofi, your brother, also had COVID. How he recovering, that moment of recovery, you also getting this COVID. Perpetua, how did it go with you, and what will be your piece of advice for the public who are watching?
Thank you. Please, Kofi is not. I'm not Kofi's sister.
Oh, sorry,
I'm
sorry.
A friend who took
a friend who.
Yeah.
Okay, let me call sister in Christ. So. All right. So let's go.
For me, I didn't get any complications.
That's okay.
And I'm not. I normally feel when I'm going to where a lot of people are. Like, I become scared when I see more than 5 people and I'm going to that place, as in that fear of going to where people are. And I want people to know COVID is real.
Okay.
And we should all take the precautions serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Pastor, talk to us. Pastor, talk to us. Now you've been able to help Abigail. Now Abigail is fine. You're also fine. Everyone is fine. You've seen people dying out of COVID. What are you going to tell us here in Ghana about COVID?
Well, number one, all the necessary precautions. Don't joke with them. Try the mask, and when you go out and you come in, wash your hands. Don't joke with it. Take your nutrition seriously. No, don't eat junk foods because of your immune system. Okay. That's what helped my family.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Your immune system, you depend upon the food you eat. You know, I always tell my family, my food is my medicine.
Exactly.
So I will leave that with you. And also, your daily things you do, like the many times you ease yourself, your eating pattern, when you see any slight change in your daily patterns, start checking.
Okay.
Because COVID can take any form. Like you are not able to ease yourself as you used to. Then start doing something about it. See that you are coughing a little bit. Don't take for granted thinking, oh, maybe it's just an ordinary cold. Try do something about it. Normal headache, don't just go and buy paracetamol thinking, oh, this is a normal cold. Try and see, you know, when you take all these precautions that the doctors and the nurses are giving and your daily routine, I know if you are catching it, you will see it as early as possible and deal with it. Otherwise, when it gets to the extreme, you might not come back.
All right. Thank you so much. Kofi, before I come to you, there's a testimony I want to share with all of us who are watching from home, from my guest on Zoom and here. He said, "Good evening, Pastor. Thanks be to God for his healing mercies upon myself and family. I'm a midwife, but was taken to the isolated ward to help. In my line of duty, I contracted the virus and infected my husband, my 2 kids, and my sister's 2 kids who were with me. Miraculously, my in-law, who was a diabetic, didn't contract, and we are all healed and safe now. Glory be to God." She's Gloria. Gloria, it is true, a wonderful testimony to be shared. The fact that Gloria has shared this testimony doesn't mean that we need to throw away the precautions so that we can go our way, because Gloria said that her testimony. But we thank God for the life. If the diabetic in-law had contracted the virus, what is the chance?
Okay, so with those who have and underlying conditions like diabetes, hypertension, when they contract the condition, the COVID-19, it worsens the case.
Okay.
Yes. So it becomes very difficult to control their sugars and those kind of things. And when those things happen, meaning the body is not will not be functioning as very well, and patient might.
All right. Kofi, your last word, since you saw people dying around you out of COVID, what do you have to tell my viewers?
Okay, so all I have to tell your viewers is we should mask up. Exactly. We shouldn't lose our guards. Exactly. That's our safest and surest way to prevent the virus. And also we should take our hand hygiene seriously. the hand washing, the use of hand sanitizers. That's our surest bet of getting rid of this COVID. So that is, I think, my best advice to our viewers. They should take this very seriously.
All right, Kofi, thank you so much for that. Back to the studio. Sammy.
Yeah.
Now you were sharing experiences with us.
Yeah.
Now, what are you also going to tell us? Because let me leave the next minute for you to talk.
Okay, thank you very much. COVID is real, and it's not far from us. It's with us. Yeah. All the safety protocols that have been laid down for us to follow, we should follow strictly. The washing of hands frequently with the soap and under running water, sanitizing our hands, social distancing, maxing out, all those protocols have been researched and found out that it's very effective in fighting or preventing ourselves from contracting COVID-19. Another thing that I want to talk about or say here for us to also take particular notice of is the psychological aspect of COVID-19, how it affects the patient and the family. When an individual contracts the condition, because it's a novel virus and a new disease that we are still not much well understanding it, when individual gets it, the anxiety or the fear of the unknown alone the patient experience can even cause his or her death.
Exactly.
So what I would like to advise our friends who are listening to us is that when our family member or any person around us contract the disease, that is a time that we have to deal with them emotionally. Now you're talking about physical distancing or social distancing, not emotional distancing.
Not emotional distancing. That's a wonderful word.
Let's take particular instance of that. We are talking about physical distancing, that not emotional distance. We should rather be closer to them.
Love.
And show love. Because the kind of fear that they go through, people have died. Am I also going to die? So if you shun from them, if you stigmatize them, then we are doing more harm than good to them. So one thing, though health workers are helping with the medical aspect of it, what we as family members and friends can do is also show love. Emotionally, we shouldn't distance ourselves, but physically or socially, let's distance ourselves.
All right, so that is wonderful. Viewers, you heard from Samuel Chumesi. He's a nurse at Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and especially in the ICU, Intensive Care Unit. He has said this. Pastor Emmanuel Kosiebua also shared his experience with us, how they were able to control and cope with their daughter Abigail, who also contracted the virus. Perpetua also helped out, and Kofi saw a lot of people dying around him. That should tell us that COVID is not far from us. COVID is within us. COVID is with us. And COVID is everywhere. The only thing we got to do is to mask up. The only thing we got to do is to make sure that we eat well, we exercise, we take all the precautions seriously. But next week, we will try to talk about people whose relatives or loved one had died out of COVID. So in case you know someone or you yourself watching me today, you have experienced that, please, you can send your contact. We want to create the awareness that COVID, it is there. Probably what you will share with us will help someone somewhere to be saved from this pandemic. Please, Sammy, let me even ask, is it spiritual?
No. From where I'm coming from and where I stand, I wouldn't say it is spiritual. Because medically...
Sorry, before you medically, I've seen people saying, my pastor says, I won't get COVID. My pastor says I won't get COVID. When you hear people praying like that, or let me ask Pastor, there's a Pastor Ewa. Let me, probably you will be the best person to answer this. Pastor.
Yeah.
All right. So I hear people saying I counsel it in Jesus' name. To hell with COVID. I'm not going to get COVID because God is on my side. Pastor, you are a pastor. You had COVID. What will you tell Christians who have that perception or mindset?
I would say all the pastors, prophets, or whoever who is spreading this lie to people that because they believe in Jesus, nothing like that will happen to them. They are all liars. They shouldn't listen to them. It can happen to you.
Okay.
You know, death hangs around our neck. Everybody, whether you're Christian or non-Christian. COVID sickness, we all get sick, including the COVID. All that we need is to take all the necessary precautions. And don't ever think that, oh, it will never happen to me.
Exactly.
It can happen to you.
Exactly.
If you refuse to take the necessary precautions.
Exactly.
And when it gets to you, before you are aware, you might be in your grave.
All right. Thank you so much. So now give me the science, the science background then quickly.
And with COVID, I would say it's not spiritual because medically it has been proven that there's a virus that caused it.
Okay.
Now, even if it's spiritual, there is something they call act of faith.
Okay.
You have faith.
Okay.
Act it.
Okay.
The act of putting on the mask is an act of faith.
Okay. Washing your hands.
Washing your hand is an act of faith.
Wonderful.
Let's practice this and
we all be safe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we walk by faith, but not by sight. And faith, you need to practice faith. Yes. So to my Christians and non-Christians who are watching, COVID is not a fasting and prayer stuff. It's not you cancel it in Jesus' name. It is with us. It is real. What we got to do is to make sure that we take the necessary precautions and live accordingly. I'll thank Perpetua for joining to share her experience and how best she was able to cope with the friend Kofi. Kofi, thank you so much for sharing with us what you went through, especially when you were placed on the vent. Before God and man, you realized that at a point in time you are gone. You are gone. But God was so good to all of us to the extent that Kofi, now you are sharing this testimony for somebody somewhere to know that COVID is real. Pastor Yeboah, God bless you for your time. Yesterday we spoke. I know how busy you were today, but by the grace of God, you find time just to make sure that this program becomes a success. God bless you. And to my prof who had been promoted to doctorship this evening, Sami Nyankupon, God bless you so much for your time sharing this thing with us. And thanks go to Slick Afrik for your fabric. God bless you. Alpha Art, God bless you. My crew here, God bless you. And I'm still seeking from my viewers that next week, Wednesday, we want to do families who had lost loved ones out of COVID. We want to help people out there. And we will end all this COVID scene with a lot of things that you will know that indeed COVID is real, and we need to take that drastic steps to stop or to curtail the spread of COVID. Until then, I've been your regular host, Pastor Daniel Abedu Bidiaba, with God on our side. Please stay out of COVID. Today is the last Wednesday in February, and I want to see you the first February in March, the first Wednesday in March. Please, let's mask up, as you said, because COVID is real. Your regular host, Pastor Daniel Abedu Bidiaba. I'm out.